Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to another episode of the Talk Room series of podcasts, where we look at the question of how to be your best self. We do that by looking at mental health and well-being and how this applies to our daily lives. For those people who haven't seen any of our previous podcasts, I'd like to introduce my co-presenter, Ian. Ian is a senior accredited member of the National Counselling Society and the founder of Hope Therapy and Counselling Services, a counselling practice that operates throughout the south of England.
Thank you, Wendy. And to introduce you, you're a highly experienced CBT psychotherapist working in private practice, and you've been involved in the field of mental health and well-being more generally for well over 30 years now. So a really, really warm welcome to you again.
Thank you very much, Ian. So, Ian, I know that today's subject of autism is an area which is really dear to your heart, and I know you feel very passionately about it. So, I wonder if you could just start by explaining to people what autism is.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. So autism or Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD, is a neurodevelopmental condition. It affects how a person perceives the world, communicates, and interacts with others. It's typically diagnosed in early childhood, although it can be identified much, much later in life as well, with many people not even getting a diagnosis until they reach adulthood, if at all. And the core characteristics of autism include difficulty in social communication and interaction. People with autism may struggle with various things such as understanding social cues, maintaining eye contact, and engaging in reciprocal conversation with somebody else. They may also have difficulty with non-verbal communication as well, so things like interpreting facial expressions or gestures or body language. Another hallmark of autism is the presence of repetitive behaviour or very restrictive interests. And that can manifest itself in lots of different ways, such as repetitive movements or speech patterns, a strong attachment to specific routines, or a really narrow focus on particular subjects or topics.
Okay, thank you, Ian. That's really very interesting. So I'm wondering, everyone with autism, do they struggle in the same way and find the same things challenging?
And that's a great question. Autism or autism spectrum disorder has this idea of a spectrum, which refers to a range or a continuum of different presentations and different characteristics. So the autism spectrum recognizes that different individuals with autism can exhibit various strengths, various challenges, and various different types of behaviors, and that no two individuals with autism are exactly alike, in exactly the same way as no two people who don't have autism are exactly alike. So the autism spectrum encompasses a really broad range of abilities, of functioning levels, and support needs as well. So individuals on the spectrum may have relatively mild symptoms and be able to live a perfectly independent life, live perfectly well, perfectly happily, whereas others may require more significant support in their daily lives and experience more profound challenges in particular areas. And that means that individuals with autism may absolutely excel in certain areas. So they might excel in art or music or mathematics or computer science. What's really struggling or really having quite profound challenges in other areas, such as social interaction or communication or sensory processing. And it's understanding autism as a spectrum, which really promotes the recognition and the acceptance of neurodiversity. It encourages an appreciation of the unique strengths and abilities that individuals with autism possess, as well as the importance of providing appropriate support, appropriate accommodations, and appropriate interventions as well, tailored to the specific needs of those individuals.
Okay, that's a really interesting and a fascinating explanation of this spectrum idea. So thank you for that, Ian. So accepting that people with autism present on this spectrum and that not everyone will therefore present in the same way, are there particular things from a mental health or well-being perspective that people are more likely to struggle with and may need support with?
Well, as you say, not everyone will struggle with any form of mental health issue. And just as people's unique gifts and challenges will appear at different points on the spectrum, so will the severity of any mental health or well-being challenges that they may face, if indeed they face them at all. But there are things that people may be more likely to struggle with. So, for example, anxiety is highly prevalent amongst individuals with autism. They may experience generalized anxiety, they may experience specific phobias or social anxiety or separation anxiety. The uncertainty and challenges associated with social interactions, social situations, sensory sensitivities can all contribute to heightened anxiety levels in a whole variety of different situations. Individuals with autism may be more prone to depression due to social difficulties, feelings of isolation, and challenges in understanding and expressing emotion. Individuals with autism may also exhibit obsessive thoughts and engage in what can be very repetitive behaviours or rituals. And these obsessive and compulsive tendencies can really overlap with the core features of autism and can have quite a profound impact for some people on daily functioning as well.
Okay, thank you. That is really interesting and really stresses the need to offer appropriate and tailored support to those who need it. Just not one approach fits all way of working. I'm wondering if there are other things that people with autism may also likely to struggle with that we don't necessarily fall under a mental health condition, but are still hugely impactful.
Yeah, and again, a really, really good question. And the answer is yes, absolutely. So because autism is a neurodevelopmental condition, it can mean that some people can also be more prone to other neurodevelopmental conditions such as ADHD or Tourette's, but also things like sensory processing challenges as well. So although not strictly a mental health disorder per se, sensory processing difficulties are often associated with autism. So individuals can experience hypersensitivity or hypersensitivity to sensory stimuli, leading to emotional dysregulation, leading to anxiety, and can really lead to sensory overload for some people that appear on that autistic spectrum. Things like emotional dysregulation. So that's just meaning difficulties in managing and regulating emotions can be really quite common for people that appear on that autistic spectrum. So individuals struggle to identify and to be able to express emotions appropriately, leading to emotional meltdowns for some people, can lead to aggression or even injurious behaviours as well sometimes. They might be more prone to things like sleep disorders, sleep problems such as insomnia, difficulty going to sleep, or disrupted sleep patterns. Can all be really quite common with people on that autistic spectrum.
Okay, thank you for that, Ian. Again, very well explained. Before we talk more specifically about the therapeutic support available, are there any tips that someone who has autism or a loved one who might be thinking about better supporting themselves, things they might consider before reaching out for professional support?
Yeah, again, a really excellent question. So the first thing is to remember this idea of a spectrum that we talked about a little bit earlier. So not everyone will ever have any of those issues. And if they do, because people with autism present on a spectrum, it may be either quite severe or much less so, depending on the individual person. So because of this idea of the spectrum, the first thing is to try and develop a degree of self-awareness by recognizing our own strengths, our own challenges, and our own sensory sensitivities. So understanding how you experience the world can help you to navigate it in a more effective way. So if we understand that we're likely to be triggered by a particular thing, that knowledge can really help us to prepare for that particular challenge. Also, establishing some form of routine and predictability for some people. So to the extent that it's possible, creating a structured daily routine that provides some degree of predictability can often be really helpful in helping to reduce anxiety. Knowing what to expect can just promote a sense of control, a sense of stability. So that's something to bear in mind as well. And then this idea of sensory regulation. So another thing would be identifying and managing sensory sensitivities by finding strategies to help you to cope with sensory overload or sensory discomfort. So many things can be done here. So including things like some people might wear noise cancelling headphones or wearing comfortable clothing that doesn't triggers people issues with sensitivity, or taking sensory breaks in a sort of calmer environment can be really helpful for certain individuals. And then there are things around communication strategies. So often just exploring and developing effective communication strategies that work for the individual, recognizing that everybody that appears on that spectrum is an individual. So finding strategies that work for you can be really helpful. Learning to recognize and to label our own emotions. So exploring techniques like deep breathing exercises as well, mindfulness, engaging in activities the individual finds calming can be really helpful in terms of regulating emotions. And then really importantly, finding supportive social connections, supportive relationships with understanding friends, understanding family members, or support groups. All of those things can be really useful. Connecting with individuals who accept and appreciate you for who you are can provide hugely valuable emotional support. This shouldn't be underestimated because a nurturing sense of community can be really so helpful in so many ways. Pursuing special interests. So many people on the spectrum will have special interests which can provide a sense of purpose, a sense of fulfillment. It can be a sense of self-expression for many people. So creating routines and time around those types of things can be a way of just introducing joy, a pleasure, sense of relaxation into your life. And then we might think about things like just practicing self-care. So really learning to prioritize self-care activities that promote your overall well-being. And that can include activities like exercise, things like getting enough sleep, maintaining a balanced diet, engaging in hobbies or relaxation techniques. There really is an awful lot that people can be thinking about before they reach out for that more professional support.
Okay, yeah, and that is such a useful, lots of different information and tips there. Thank you so much for that. Just amazing amount of information there. I just want to pick up on one thing that you said about finding supportive social connections. Are you able to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so again, we need to remember this idea of a spectrum, which stresses that different people will find social connection with others even more or less challenging than other people. But challenges with social communication and social interaction will be components of autism to some extent. So it's an area that can be really hard for many people with autism. Still, there are lots of benefits of trying really hard to build social groups and social connections, and that might be through things like a support group or a group connected with special interests that individuals may have.
Okay, and so why is this such an important area, would you say?
Well, it's not the only important area of focus, but it can be a really helpful area to apply focus to for lots and lots of reasons. So the challenges that are brought by autism can sometimes lead to a sense of social isolation, a sense of difficulties in initiating and of maintaining relationships. So working on developing supportive relationships and social connections can help combat that sense of isolation, and can just provide a sense of belonging, a sense of inclusion. When we have supportive relationships, they can offer emotional support, they can offer understanding, they can offer empathy, and having someone also just to share experiences with, to share joys with, to share challenges with, all of those things can help individuals on that autistic spectrum to navigate their emotions and feel a sense of validation. And we know that social interaction can directly impact on people's mental health and general well-being. So developing supportive relationships can, for many, reduce feelings of loneliness, can influence low mood, anxiety, contributing to improved overall mental health for people that appear on that autistic spectrum. And also engaging in social relationships can just provide a really valuable opportunity as well to practice and to develop social skills. So interacting with others can really enhance communication, it can enhance turn taking, can help us to practice perspective taking, and other really essential social abilities that many people that appear on that broad spectrum might not always find easy. There can be a sense of increased self-confidence, a sense of increased self-esteem that comes with supportive relationships as well. Getting positive feedback, encouragement and acceptance from other individuals can really just help develop a sense of positive self-image, a sense of positive belief in ourselves. So many benefits can just come from investing time in really trying to develop that sense of social connection.
Okay, well, that is really fascinating, Ian. Thank you so much for that. And so many things for people to think about in managing their own self-care, or the partners and loved ones that can offer that too for them. I'm just wondering if people are struggling with more severe issues or maybe issues around their mental health. Is there counselling or therapy support available? How effective can this be for them?
Yeah, a great question. And there is lots of support that people can offer, and lots of benefits of reaching out to get help if people feel that they need it. But it's important to work with a counsellor or a therapist that has experience of autism. And some of the benefits might include just emotional support. So counselling can offer a non-judgmental space where individuals can freely express and explore their emotions. The presence of a compassionate and empathetic counsellor can really provide comfort, can provide validation and sense of being, it's just a sense of being heard to people. And those might be things that people that appear on the autistic spectrum don't necessarily get in other areas of their lives. We might get insights, opportunities for self-reflection from counselling. Counselling can help individuals just to gain a deeper understanding of their own thoughts, their own feelings, and their own behaviours as well. And through things like guided reflection and therapeutic techniques, individuals can really start to uncover underlying patterns, underlying beliefs or unresolved issues that maybe are contributing to their mental health challenges as well. There might be work that you can do with a counsellor surrounding coping strategies and coping skills. So just practicing coping strategies and skills with an experienced counsellor can be really, really useful, empowering individuals to be able to better manage their mental health for themselves. And those strategies may include things like relaxation techniques, stress management techniques, emotional regulation, problem solving. There's lots and lots of different things that people on the autistic spectrum can work with an appropriately trained counsellor. And then things like identifying and just learning to start to challenge what we call cognitive distortions. So counselling can be really helpful in terms of addressing what we call cognitive distortions. So things like negative self-talk or irrational beliefs, all of which can really quite profoundly feed into mental health related issues. And things like cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, can be really helpful in helping individuals recognise and start to reframe some of those distorted thought patterns, and just starting to lead into creating and promoting healthier ways of thinking.
Okay.
There's a lot of work surrounding building resiliency that can be worked on with counsellors. So that might involve building adaptive coping skills, enhancing their ability just to bounce back from setbacks that they might have, identifying stressors and being able to work with those stressors when things maybe don't go quite as well for them. And there's a lot of work around just personal growth and self-empowerment that can be worked on as well. So just working with individuals to help them to discover their strengths, to help them to figure out their values and their goals. It encourages individuals just to start to take ownership, actually, of their mental health. It empowers them to take steps towards making positive changes in their lives that can really have a quite profound impact on general mental health and well-being. And it's so important to note also that counselling approaches and techniques may vary based on the individual's needs. So we also need to just consider the counsellor's expertise and the specific issues that need to be worked on as well. And there are lots and lots of different forms of counselling and therapy that can be helpful in working with people that appear on this autistic spectrum. The key is to reach out to someone experienced and to discuss what is available and what would be helpful for the unique needs of you as an individual, recognizing that everybody that sits on that autistic spectrum is a unique individual and will have unique needs, and therefore they really need to be seeking somebody that can make something really quite bespoke to be able to support the uniqueness of you as an individual.
Okay, thank you, Ian. A really fascinating insight into the various challenges that can confront people with autism, and also a great many things that can be done to help the person and to support them. So if people want to know more, what should they be doing?
Well, Hope has a team of really experienced counsellors and therapists, many of which have significant experience of working with autism. So people are very welcome to get in touch with us. We can discuss the types of support that's available and most suitable for the specific needs of the individual. People are very welcome to go to our website, which is www.hopefulminds.co.uk/autism-support/. We will drop a link to that in the comments as well. We also have lots and lots of free information, blogs, infographics about autism on the site as well, all of which are completely free of charge. So people are very, very welcome to take a look at all of that. But you, Wendy, also as a hugely experienced CBT psychotherapist, I know that you work with autism on a regular basis. So maybe just tell our listeners a little bit about you and how that might work as well.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. So I do work with people with autism, and very much as Ian said, it does depend on the individual needs of the person, and people can present with a range of complex needs. So if you want to know more about me, just go to my website. It's wendyc.team, and there are some free resources on there. You just have to go to the website, sign up, and you can access some meditations which might be particularly useful to people with autism. So it's just time for me to thank Ian to talk about this really hugely important subject of mental health. Thank you so much for that. And thank you everyone for listening, and please listen out for more podcasts in the next future weeks. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ian, and thank you for everybody who listened. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.